Well, hello and welcome to another week of Soap Secrets. And we've got some really quite, shocking news, haven't we, Victoria? Victoria's joining me, our very own Holby expert. And there's some really big news this week, isn't there?
Yeah, we begin this week's Holby Roundup with some, as you say, very shocking and quite sad news, really, for Holby City fans. I can't actually believe I'm going to say this, but the BBC recently announced that after 23 years on our screens, Holby City is going to be axed. We're told that.
I mean, we need some kind of like incredible music at this point, don't we? Like, it feels some really sad but powerful music to come in. If you could make that happen, please, guys.
It's 23 years. We're told the show will remain on our screens until March next year, so we still have it to enjoy up to then. But after that time, it will be no more.
I just can't get my head around it. I mean, obviously, Holby fans are absolutely, rightly, understandably up in arms. I mean, we've been doing these podcasts throughout the whole of lockdown from home. You've heard my dogs barking. You've probably heard the kids screaming, keeping it real here. But we've been doing it at home, and the soaps have really these ones, particularly the hospital dramas, have really come into their own. It seems out of all of the ones to be axed, this is the most unlikely.
Yeah, I mean, the BBC issued a statement explaining its decision, and there's quite a lot of detail, but it's sort of, for those who haven't heard the news, I don't know where you've been, but it's been all over the news, basically. But the BBC said, we sometimes have to make difficult decisions to make room for new opportunities, and as part of the BBC's commitment to make more programmes across the UK, we have taken the difficult decision to bring the show to a close in order to reshape the BBC's drama slate to better reflect, represent and serve all parts of the country. It added, we would like to take this opportunity to thank the amazing team at BBC Studios and all the cast and crew who have been involved in the show since 1999. We look forward to working with the team over the coming months to ensure that when it ends, Holby goes out on a high.
The thing is, it will go out on a high because it's at a high now. It's at an absolute massive peak, isn't it? I mean, there is something to be said for going out when you're on the top, but, this just, I don't know, it feels like there's more to it, and we can all be conspiracy theorists and we can all have our thoughts on it. It just is incredibly shocking. So we need to savour every episode. And this week really doesn't let us down because, not only is there massive news, but it's a massive week in Holby, isn't it? Because the whole drugs gang catch up with Andre and Evie.
Yeah, I mean, Holby has given us some great characters in all of that time, and a great character that we've come to know and love over the past few years, 2 years, I think, is Kian Madani. He has really come up into his own. He came in as like this cheeky chappy to give sort of Jack a run for her money, and but as the story's gone on, we found out more about him, and in the past, a few months, I suppose, maybe even longer, we've learned more about his drug addiction and how he's kind of gone down this very sort of dark rabbit hole to where he is now. So basically what happens next week is that Kian is at the centre of this big storyline, and he's stunned when 2 stab victims are brought into the hospital, and it's soon revealed that they are Andre and Fletcher's daughter Evie. Both are in a very bad way. They've basically been attacked by the drugs gang that's been after Andre, and of the 2, Andre he's the one in a critical condition, and unsurprisingly, we have the scene play out between Fletch and Kian, who are arguing about who should be operating on first. Fletch being Evie's dad, obviously. Kian, of course, he vows to save both of them, but he prioritises for Andre to go to theatre first. Of course, this is Holby, and Evie obviously then deteriorates, but her worried dad refuses to let Kian operate. He dishes out some very harsh home truths at that point about Kian's late wife and his late ex-girlfriend B, basically saying that all Kian does is kill people. which is not what he wants. He is a surgeon. He wants to save lives, but he is just one of those people that drama seems to follow. And obviously Kian is taking all this on whilst battling the powerful demon that is a drug addiction.
It's quite a storyline, isn't it? Do we get any sense of whether both these characters are going to still be here?
Well, the operations are a success, but Kian is clearly struggling with the day's events, and he fears he might use drugs again. Obviously, we know up to now, mental health nurse Lucky has been kind of microdosing him to try and wean him off, but they kind of fell out recently, and obviously we have this big episode next week where he's really struggling to cope. He calls Lucky, but she's ignoring all his calls. And then there's a real question mark over sort of whether Kian might have a relapse.
And we'll see it possibly spiralling, I suppose.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great episode, though, and it really does show how Holby is kind of at its best at the moment. So, we can still enjoy it for a while.
And Sasha and Dom, they're a big part of this episode as well, aren't they? Because they're both vying for the clinical lead job.
Yes. It is a big day on Keller as frenemies, if you like. Dominic Copeland and Sasha Levy are going for the job of clinical lead. Basically, it's Sasha's old job, and Dom makes it quite clear that he's determined to get it. Hansen interviews, we see sort of interview scenes with Hansen and both men to determine sort of what they might bring to the role. Sasha obviously having been doing the role for years. And there's a kind of a side story though with Dominic and Junior Dr. Jung. He's basically massively trying to impress Dom, who he thinks could be his permanent boss anytime soon. Dom tells he's got this little nervous energy, Jung, and Dom tells him that he wants to work with medics who can use their own initiative. So when Jung works out that a patient has a life-threatening condition that requires medication immediately, he thinks on his feet and breaks into the drugs cupboard to get it.
Not quite the thinking on his feet that Tom might have been after.
Yeah, he's just going all out to impress, and I guess the question is, will that prove to be the right move? And of course, who out of Dom and Sasha will get the coveted job?
Or will either of them? Dun dun dun.
Yeah.
Fireworks either way.
Yeah. There's also more from the Josh and Ange saga next week. After they were basically rumbled by Hansen, Ange has managed to keep her job by promising to end her relationship with Junior Josh. Josh, however, he's clearly fallen for Miss Goddard and won't let her go without a fight. So after impressing her with this cracking diagnosis, he then tells Ange that he's applied for a transfer to St James's Hospital. So, they won't be, since she'll no longer be his boss, they can be together. What will she say, though?
We don't
know. He's clearly smitten, but Ange is a professional, so we'll see.
We'll see. Oh, well, look, we've got many more weeks to still talk about Holby. Let's not get too upset just yet, and let's hope that the campaigning to keep it on the BBC will win.
Well, the fans have, within hours of it being announced of its axe, the fans launched a petition, "Don't Scrap Holby City," and it's already had a fair few thousand signatures, so we'll see what comes of that.
Yeah, wait and see pie. So, Casualty, another brilliant hospital drama. Football's pushing it back this week to the later time of 9:30, but it's definitely worth the wait, isn't it, Claire?
Yes, it is, Hannah. Hello.
Hi, Claire.
Hi. So, yes, it's really, really interesting this week. We have, a couple of weeks ago, we saw David's son, Ollie, come into ED with a mysterious vomiting and fainting fit. David's a great nurse on Casualty, but he has his little quirks and he gets very stressed about things, and you see him walking around the ED with his little bum bag, and he's great at his job, but he's very stressed about his son. So when Ollie comes back in, having had a moment at school when they're really worried about him and they've brought him in because he's still vomiting and fainting, David's up in arms. They can't find his wife Rosa, who seems to have mysteriously disappeared, and so he's all over Dr. Rash, saying, you've got to find out what's wrong with Ollie. Come on, what's wrong with him? It turns out that we did see a couple of weeks ago that Ollie mentioned that he had the same symptoms that Rosa's late son had before he passed, and this is getting Rash thinking. He's still stumped. Lots of things are coming back negative. They're doing a raft of tests, and most of them are coming back negative. Ollie isn't taking drugs. That's one of the first things they think of. As a teenager, is he doing drugs? All of this, but. In a way, Rash then comes down to thinking maybe that someone is deliberately poisoning Ollie in a Munchausen syndrome by proxy kind of way. That's a bit scary, Hannah, isn't it?
Oh, well, isn't this a running theme? Hasn't this going on in Emmerdale?
Yes. So this is getting Rash really thinking. And, and we are all being pushed down this road. When you watch the episode, Hannah, you will see you're being pushed down this road. David at first is, no, how dare you say this about Rosa? But you know what? At the end of the episode, we have the three of them standing there. Rash is trying to stop David from accusing his wife without the proper facts. Will he accuse his wife? Because, if you accuse your wife of poisoning your son, surely your marriage is over at that point.
Well, I think the trust has completely gone, it's fair to say, isn't it? Crikey, if you, but also without any real proper evidence and proper facts.
Yes.
That's the thing, isn't it?
Yes, completely. Because one of the facts, her son died and had similar symptoms. She was seen giving him a hot chocolate. Well, no one tested it. She cooked him breakfast, yes, but so David ate it as well. And she was trying to give him water. That no one has tested any of those items of food or drink. So none of us.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's fantastic, I have to say, absolutely fantastic.
So usually in storylines like this, when, someone is accused who's closer to home, like a wife or a mother or whatever, the other person doesn't want to believe it, despite the facts. And now this person's believing it without the facts. It's quite a different scenario, isn't it?
Yes, it is. It is a cracking episode, so really don't miss it. I know there's a lot of football on at the moment, but really, you can pick this up on iPlayer if you've had enough TV. And of course, there's more drama for Phoenicia and Ethan. And last,
I know their storylines really. I just want them to be together, but he's so desperate, isn't he, because of his own issues, to push her into Matthew's arms.
I know. And this week, last week we saw Ethan was unable to suture a head wound because his hand seized up and he's worried that his Huntington's symptoms are kicking in. And this week he's holding little Bodie. We all know he adores little Bodie, loves his son to bits, but he drops him, Hannah.
Oh, from what sort of height? That is important, isn't it?
Yeah, so he's holding him in his arms and he's standing up, so I suppose from his waist
down.
Oh
my goodness me. Is the baby okay?
The baby's fine. But he says he's trying to, Phoenicia says, how could you drop him? He said he wriggled, but actually we all know that his hand did that seizing up again, so this makes Ethan even more determined to push Phoenicia into Matthew's arms. But I'll tell you one thing, Hannah, at the end, Rash is the hero of the hour. I love Rash, Dr. Rash. He's absolutely lovely. He has words, quite stern words with Phoenicia, and he puts her straight and he tells her that Ethan loves her.
Will she follow her heart?
Well, this is the question, isn't it? And you know what? How can you not love Ethan? He sends her a picture of her, because he said to her, do go on a date with Matthew, and he's looking after little Bodie. And there they are having a boys' night watching Ethan's favourite Doctor Who, which happens to be the Tom Baker years. And they're both dressed in these funny sort of brown hats and these stripy scarves. How can you not love him?
Yeah, and you know what? Obviously, the Huntingtons is taking over, and he does keep having these moments where things seize. But you know what? If everybody knows and everyone's aware, this is real life. This happens. You work with it. It's not a reason not to be with somebody. That is, and so I think that if she knows about it, then they can work together in that scenario.
Yes.
Oh, I do hope they work out. So football is filling up the TV schedules, and soaps aren't on at their usual time. So the BBC is releasing all this week's EastEnders episode on Monday, the 14th of June on iPlayer, and ITV is releasing all the week's episodes of Emmerdale and Coronation Street on ITV Hub, and also on Monday, the 14th of June. So you can binge watch or watch one at a time, or watch them in real time. Whatever, the choice is yours.
Yes.
How amazing 2021 is.
I have to say, finally, this is a brilliant thing, because when football's on and big sporting events, soaps, it is difficult to schedule soaps and people miss them, especially, we've got Wimbledon coming up, those great long matches that sometimes knock stuff out of schedules when they go over time. So I think well done to ITV and BBC for making this decision. I think it's brilliant.
Yeah, great news. Okay, so Emmerdale. It's Leyla and Liam's wedding this week.
Yes. We all like a wedding in a soap. Do you think it's going to go to plan, Hannah?
Well, Bernice obviously is determined for it not to. She wants her man back. So I'd imagine, as per soaps and weddings, it will have a few fireworks.
There's going to be lots of fireworks. So Layla's desperation to marry Liam is matched by Bernice's determination to stop it, Hannah. So, we know Bernice came back from Australia a couple of weeks ago. Bernice is such a great character. The fans love her. She is. She's kooky. She's great, isn't she?
She is brilliant. I love her.
And she, to be honest with you, she did kind of figure Liam was going to wait for her while she went off to Australia to do all of that. And she's a little put out that he didn't. Well, massively put out. So this week, does she come up with a plan? And on Layla's wedding day, Leyla is shocked to discover Bernice is also wearing a big, huge white dress and veil. And she makes a last-ditched plea to Liam. Marry me.
Oh my goodness me. Is this actually going to... I feel like there's a twist here. There's going to be some almighty twist, isn't there? Because surely Leyla, there's got to be a point where your own sort of pride kicks in. And you're like, do you really want to marry me? Do you really love me? Or do you want to be with her?
Yes. We'll have to wait and see. It's going to be unmissable. Are we going to see two women fighting in wedding dresses? Is Liam going to leave Leyla at the altar? She's already been left once, so she's a bit nervous of it. Or is Bernice going to have her heart, I'm not going to say broken, but dented, shall we say, because I don't think she's really in love with Liam. But so we've got three things here that can go on.
Oh, the worst thing is, though, is if she doesn't really love him and it is just a case of I want something because I can't have it, we're going to have a lot of heartbreak for Liam, aren't we?
Yes, and Leyla. Poor Leyla.
Oh, and poor Leyla, yeah. Poor Leyla. Oh, my goodness. That is going to be unmissable, as you say. And Big Brother Aaron is trying to rescue little sister Liv.
Yes, so yes, Big Brother Aaron is trying to rescue little sister Liv this week. We know Liv's still in crisis after leaving Paul to die in the barn at Mandy and Paul's wedding. So she's really spiraling out of control. She's drinking heavily, and he manages to track her down to a caravan that she's sharing with her mother, and he finds her drunk and having another seizure.
Can he save her? It's a path of self-destruction, isn't it, that she's on?
Yes, it's massive.
A big week in Emmerdale. I can't wait to see I presume there's lots of fighting between Bernice and Leyla. Can't wait to see it. Brilliant. Coronation Street. Seb's murder is still reverberating around the street, understandably, obviously. And Nina's not coping with the loss of her boyfriend because it's such a horrific crime. And this has caused quite a stir, hasn't it? Not just within the soap world, but also sort of publicly. People are just horrified by the storyline.
Yes, they are. I mean, it was based on a real life case, so
awful, absolutely awful. And this week we see Nina hitting the bottle, don't we? And she gets so drunk that she stays out all night.
She does, and she's living with Roy, and Roy's really trying to reach her, and he's really worried for her. She's drunk in the Ginnel. Isn't everyone drunk in the Ginnel? Sorry, I love the Ginnel. It's great. And so she goes out in the town. While she's out on this messy night out, she does meet this older guy, Huey. And the next night, she's back in the Rovers drinking with this guy who's still in tow. And she agrees to go back to his hotel with him. But, is he all that he seems? He's, obviously not.
It's just too soon as well, isn't it? I mean, she is just in such a bad way. I mean, why is it too soon? I mean, she's in meltdown mode, isn't she? She's in the worst state of grief that there is.
And unfortunately, when she's in this hotel, Corrie is also in there meeting up with this Weatherfield footballer because he's won some kind of award. And, this really upsets her. And this is when she picks up his award and threatens him with it. Abby has followed her there. Can Abby save her from herself?
Let's hope so. We've also got Leanne and Simon back, aren't we, to face the music? Because the court case is looming shortly. But is Leanne, is she going to go through with giving evidence in court, do you think?
Well, so the police come round and try and persuade her to. I mean, she's very worried. They kidnap they kidnap Nick's little son, Sam. These are really horrible people. Sharon, who's a brilliant baddie, absolutely brilliant. She's just wicked. So, Leanne, does she want to put any more of her family at risk? Simon's at risk, she's at risk, Nick's at risk, everyone's at risk. She's got to go into a court and face Harvey, who is really scary. It's a big ask. Will she agree to give evidence, Inkles?
It's a big ask, and perhaps the reason that a lot of drug gangs don't get busted because people are too frightened. Because you don't want to live in fear for the rest of your life, do you?
Yes, and so if Leanne does give evidence, it's not just really always going to come down on her. She has a family, and they're the people that are at risk.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is my favourite storyline, obviously, the whole Fizz, Tyrone, Alina, trio. So it's brilliant. Alina gives Ty a makeover, and it involves skinny jeans, doesn't it?
It does.
This is absolutely brilliant. But you can totally see this happening, can't you? And him he's so wet, isn't he? He just goes along with everything.
Yes, I know. I don't really think he should be in skinny jeans myself. Do you?
Well, I've probably seen worse, to be fair. But yeah, I mean, it's the fashion. And she wants to make him trendy and fashionable. But this is not Tyrone. I mean, how long can he keep up this? Because with Fizz, he could be himself. That was the whole point of those two. That was the beautiful thing about those two.
Yes, it is. So Evelyn is gobsmacked. Can you imagine Evelyn? She's just gonna say something. Fizz smirks.
Yeah, well, this is just classic, isn't it? Absolute classic, Corrie. I mean, Fizz, she will be laughing. I mean, what's not to laugh about?
I know.
Okay, so Hollyoaks. Euro 2020 isn't being shown on Channel 4, so Hollyoaks is on at its normal time. You'll be pleased to know.
Yes.
Now, we all know that secrets never stay secret for long, in soaps particularly. And this week, Liberty hears a damning conversation between Summer and Sienna.
Yes, so we all know a couple of weeks ago, Summer and Sienna got passionate, don't we, Hannah? And this week, Liberty discovers what her sister Sienna's done. So this is all a bit woo. She's quite shocked, really. And she confronts her sister, but, caught out, Sienna asks Liberty not to spread this secret around, to keep her mouth shut. But, something odd's going on. The drama deepens because, Liberty has found out this shocking secret, and she goes missing. It's such an odd thing. She goes completely missing. And boyfriend Damon gets a mysterious text saying she needs time away. I don't really know why she would need time away, because her sister and Summer had a passionate moment, because he doesn't really rebound on her in any way. But so it is an odd text. And then the plot thickens when Damon finds a goodbye letter from Liberty on the Love Boat. Just where is Liberty? And for once, it seems, Summer seems to be innocent, Hannah, because
shock.
I was shocked at that, because she's upset when Brody says they can't get married until Liberty is found. And is Summer's revenge plan on Brody in tatters? Because there is no marriage unless we can discover where Liberty is.
It's a really sort of twisted plot, this one, isn't it?
Yes. It is.
Yeah,
it is. It's got lots of twists and turns.
Yeah, but there's one thing that we're sure of: it will end in tears.
Yes.
Okay, so EastEnders. Now, you're going to kick us off with a just funny storyline this week.
Yes. Yeah, I thought this was nice and light, because there's always so much doom and gloom in the square. So we know that Sonia's dad, Rocky, is still chasing Kathy. She's not having any of it. Wise woman, I would say. But then Shirley's granddaughters, Frankie and Nancy, try to set their gran up with Rocky as well.
Brilliant.
I like that, because I think that Shirley deserves a man. She's a great character, isn't she, Hannah?
Yes, she is.
She would do any man proud. And so Shirley and Rocky...
Very loyal, isn't she?
She is very loyal, and she's very family-oriented. So, yes, her granddaughters think, Nan needs a man.
Think of her in the film, though.
Yes.
Oh, my goodness me.
So Shirley and Rocky get very drunk in the Vic, much to Sonia's horror. Sonia just wants a nice, normal dad. That's all she wants. And let's not forget that at the end of this week, Sunday the 20th, of course, it's Father's Day. So, Sonia's it's the first time her dad's been around for Father's Day, so it's a big deal for Sonia. So, she finds him drunk in the Vic, and he's just not winning any Father of the Year awards with Sonia. But then she spots something on his phone. Just what is Rocky up to, and why did he pitch up in the square?
Yeah, there's a reason he's back,
Yes.
let's be honest.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, you've said that as a funny storyline. I think this is probably pips it to the post, really. Who said romance was dead? Because Bill is buying Kat the laundrette. Welcome, the new Dot Cotton.
I know. That's brilliant, isn't it? That is
brilliant. It really
brilliant.
works. I can see her doing that, can't you?
Yes. So maybe she could turn it into a laundrette like they had in the Levi ad from the 80s, with the hot model Nick Kamen. That would be really nice, who died recently. When they did that, heard it through the grapevine and all of that. Because at the moment it's just a bit grubby, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And the idea that the whole thing seems to be working out quite well between these two, but there's got to be fireworks at some point. This isn't happily ever after, is it?
No.
It just won't be.
No.
And we've got a special guest star, haven't we, this week?
Yes.
Because Danny Dyer's real-life daughter, Danny, with an I, she's got a cameo appearance, and she's playing taxi driver Jeanette.
Yes, isn't that great? So yes, Linda and Mick are due to go to the hospital for a baby scan. So we know now that Linda is really seriously, heavily pregnant. She got pregnant at Christmas. We're now nearly middle of June. So she's about 5 to 6 months pregnant, so she's in there for a baby scan. Mickey's running late, and he tells Linda he'll meet her there. So she goes off, and he hails a cab. And it's driven by Jeanette, who is also heavily pregnant, really heavily pregnant, not just 5 to 6 months pregnant, but like virtually full term. So Mick gets in the back, and just as they're driving to the hospital, Jeanette's waters break, and she says, "Oh, I'm having my baby. And so Mick must get her to the hospital really, really quickly, otherwise he'll be delivering a baby. But will Mick make it to the scan in time?
Why would you be driving a taxi when you're nearly full term? Just a question. But so Linda, presumably, if he doesn't turn up, she's going to be pretty worried.
She's going to think, I would imagine, because she's carrying Max's baby, that maybe Mick doesn't want the baby, and that maybe, you know, he's abandoning her, or maybe he's dumping her, you know. So it's a big thing not to make a scan unless, you know, and not to phone someone to say this has happened.
Yeah, that does seem, and it's kind of making, well, matters get worse, don't they, for Linda, because it turns out that when Jack took little Abby to see Max in Paris, that Max actually stole his granddaughter and disappeared. I mean, that's pretty awful. And so the question, I suppose, is whether Linda wants Max involved in all of this.
Yes, that is really shocking, because he and Rainey are co-parenting little Abby. So really, he left the square at Christmas, and he left little Abby behind, Hannah. So he doesn't really have the right to steal her. He went off and left the baby in Rainey's care. And Jack, being the caring brother, thought maybe he would like to see his granddaughter, took her to Paris. And then he took the baby, and they've both disappeared. So yes, you know, with this knowledge, which now Linda knows, will she want Max to be a part of their lives? Because is he trustworthy with a baby?
Maybe. That's the question. I'd say maybe not.
Yes.
If he's doing that. Well, another brilliant week, Claire. Thank you very much. We will be back next week, and we will be enjoying Holby until we can't any longer. Thank you so much for listening, and we will be back next week. See you then.